Welcome to our program on Kardec Radio.
Hello, my friends. Good evening. Today is January 7th, and tonight is the first study of 2021. So I'm super happy. Let's start the year very positive. Forget about all kinds of turmoil that's happening in our beautiful country or any other places in this world. Let's focus on what is good, what is beautiful, what is positive, because it's how we have to feel, how we have to connect. I'm not saying that we are going to totally forget, because it's impossible. It's in the media, it's everywhere, but let's try not to over focus in this type of things. Let me just change here, because I always forget to remove this banner that we are starting in few minutes. We started. So welcome to all of you that are listening to us or are watching us in the YouTube channels or on Facebook. Super happy to be here again. We were on vacation for 2 weeks because the Thursdays were during the Christmas night and the New Year's Eve, so we couldn't have the classes, but I'm happy to be back. And just to let you know, if you are new to our study, I always like to start it with a prayer, so it will calm us down, relax us, and help us to connect with the enlightened spirit, so we will be able to absorb better the studies. I always like to ask you also to put a bottle of water for yourself, because especially during the final prayer, you can mentalize yourself, and you can mentalize this will be your medication for that week. This is very important. So right before I start the prayer, and then we go immediately to our studies, I just want to let you all know that it's a new year and new things will be happening in Mia Inner Light. And I'm super excited about it, because a lot of people, they always write to me and they always ask me if I could pray for this person, pray for that person. And then I was like, this is something very important, because we are going through a pandemic time. So people are sick physically, not just because of COVID, but because of so many other things, but many times mentally too. So we have seen the huge increase in depression and in suicidal attempts, and also, unfortunately, in real suicidals. So people are in need to have these positive vibrations, these wonderful prayers that will benefit ourselves and will benefit the others. So we will be adding this new group irradiation in a few weeks. So stay tuned, and I will be recording another video just giving you better update on it. But it will be really beneficial to all of us to be able to be connected as a group and really directing this group prayers to people that we love, that we care, and people that really are in need. Okay? Awesome. So let's go. Please relax a little bit and connect with a prayer. Dear God, our Master Jesus, first of all, we would like to thank you so much for helping all of us to be able to be together again in this new year that just started. We ask you for your benevolence, your love, your inspiration as usual. And we also ask for you to help us to be stronger, to be more faithful, to be more forgiving, to transform ourselves in this new year. We are always expecting the year will be better without any modifications within ourselves. But this year, we finally realize we need to be better so the year will be better. And at this moment, I would like to ask you to stay with us, help all of us to connect with the studies, help our brothers and sisters who are not be able to stay with us, to be here right now, so they can receive this loving energy wherever they are, especially our friends, family members that are sick and they need these good and positive vibrations. So if they have their water, please bless it, Master. Make their water their medication that will help their physical bodies to be able to return to their good shape. Thank you, so be it. Very good, my friends. Let's go. If you are new here, we have 1 hour and it's divided in 2 portions. So the first part, we studied this book. This is what is Spiritism is a thin book. We are reading right now the biography of Angy Stewart. So this biography is very extensive and it gives us an idea of what was Spiritism in the beginning and who was Allan Kardec. So we are able to connect with Kardec, understanding how was his life, what were his struggles, and everything he went through. And if you have been with us in previous studies, you saw that was not easy. It was very, very difficult. And our second portion of the study, we studied this book, The Gospel According to Spiritism. So this book is particularly important for us during these moments of pandemic that we are in social distancing and some countries are back to lockdown. So people are already very stressed, thinking it's going to end, and it just started all over. So this book gives us the teachings of our Master Jesus and help us to be able to handle all kinds of difficulties, understanding there is a light at the end of the tunnel. We have to persevere. We have to really be strong and have faith, because things do not change from one moment to another. Things take time, and we also understand that it takes time for us to improve. But we have to always persevere, continue in our personal improvement, and then the others will do the same. But we understand that every person improves in their own time, in their own speed. So to start, let me say hello. Hello, everybody. I see there is a lot of people looking at us right now from YouTube and from Facebook, but I do not see your names. I only can see your names when you write something. So the only ones I can see here is Matthew. Hello, Matthew. How are you? Nice to see you here. And at the end, we will be praying for your family members. So stay tuned and very connected. If they don't have the bottle of water that I just mentioned, put yourself there, and then you can give to them later on. Will be their important medication. Hello, Roberta. How are you? Miss you, miss you, miss you. Soon we will be able to see each other and hug and kiss like we used to do before, and we didn't even know it was really that good. But now we know, like, it is so good, and I miss so much. Okay, my friends. So, what is Spiritism? This is the book, and we have been reading it for quite some time. Today we are in page 39. That's where we had stopped the last time. So in this portion here, we are going to see. Let me just change this a little bit here. like this. Yeah, so you can see me. So we are going to see information about the trips that Kardec did in order to spread the word about Spiritism. Even nowadays, when things are normal, you know, we have lots of people traveling around to give lectures, to give talks, to talk about Spiritism and to talk about anything, but we are focusing on Spiritism. Especially in the US, the majority of people have no idea what it is. So some people are able to travel and to give these bigger talks to people. But the pandemic also showed us we can do similar things via the internet. You know, for example, Divaldo Franco is the most famous medium of Brazil, alive nowadays. He is more than 92. I think he's 90. I think he's 93 actually. He used to travel all the time, constantly. And then we all worry about him because he's 93. If it's difficult for any normal human being to sit in the airport forever waiting for a flight, imagine a 93 years old. So in this side, for him was good because now we can see him every day. If you want, you can go on his lives. And of course, if you speak Portuguese, unfortunately, they don't have a live that's translated into English yet. So there is lots of things that the pandemic obligated us to improve because we had to be in our homes. Many things had to be changed. Many companies, for example, that did not accept people working remotely, did not accept people working from home, they had to implement this system. So this was one of the things that was positive because in the future, everybody's going to be understanding there are pros and cons in everything. So we have to find the middle ground. There are people that absolutely are enjoying working from home, and there are other people that miss their co-workers, miss going to the office, miss having huge lunches with the whole floor. One day we will be able to do it again. So coming back to the subject, Kardec traveled a lot, constantly, because the spirits had told him he was going to die soon. He didn't know when, but the spirits told him, you don't have much time. But it's funny, the spirits actually told him, don't worry, your task, you know, the codification of the spiritism, your task will not be able to be finished in this life, but you will be back and you will finish it in your next life. But Kardec didn't care about that. He's like, no, I don't know. I will work the maximum I can to try to bring this codification plan to be perfected. So when I come back, little bit will need to be done. So this is how we are going to go into this study. But right in the beginning, you will see there are lots of accusations. Kardec was constantly under some kind of turmoil because any kind of a new idea that comes up, people really get afraid of it or immediately against it. So he was always under some kind of issue, being accused of all kinds of things. And in this particular case, we are going to see that they start accusing him of taking money from the society that he had created to put in his trips. And they actually called his trips like vacations. But we know that he didn't have any vacation. He really worked. So this is exactly what we're gonna see right now. So let's go to the book. So under the request of the spiritists from Lyon and Bordeaux, Allan Kardec took a long advertisement excursion from September to October And as we mentioned before, he traveled giving advice to everybody that asked for advice. He didn't give advice to people that were quiet, because he never liked to impose his ideas. But whenever someone said, "Oh, could you please help me with this? I don't understand that. What should I do here?" Then he was super happy to offer his advice. So in this particular trip, he took 6 weeks, and he gave more than 50 lectures in 20 cities. But then, of course, hostile influences start spreading this rumor that his trips were taken at the expense of the Parisian Society for Spiritist Studies. That's the society, Spiritist Society, that he opened. And then he heard that, and Kardec immediately, every time he heard any kind of news, good news or bad news, he discussed it in public. When they were good news, he thanked, he was happy. But when it was bad news, he had to also to discuss it, not in terms of accusation, but in terms of clarifying, making people to understand what was his point of view. And that's what he's going to do here. So he refuted this falsity, and then he starts. The society limits itself to covering only its current expenses and possesses no reserves. So the society didn't really have a lot of money. It's it's basically like nowadays, spiritist centers nowadays. We are always struggling for money because it's very difficult. Everything you will encounter in a spiritist center, at least in a serious spiritist center, is free. Nothing is charged. The healing passes, spiritual treatment, lectures, any type of consultation, fraternal counseling, if you need like help. So all of these services are free. We never ask for anything, and we also don't ask people to give a monthly contribution. This is not something that is forced. Nobody forces you to pay. But usually the people that are more serious, the people that go to a spiritist center for quite some time, they see, and they start asking questions. How do you pay for the rent? How do you pay for the books? How do you pay for this? And then we start saying, well, we get together and we raise funds. We help ourselves to be able to reach to the payments. And most of the spiritist centers, they publish how much they pay in rent, how much is the light, whatever. So people that are more conscientious, they like, oh, okay, so can I help? And then people say, I can't help a lot, but I can give this amount. And it is how it works until nowadays. So this is more or less what Kardec was trying to explain. Let me just, I see some things here. Let me see if I see people here. Oh, I see. Oh, hi, Nora. How are you? I hope you're feeling better, my dear. We are praying for you. And also remember to put your water in the end, so it will be also your medication, okay? You will feel better. Be strong. Hello, Claudia Garces. How are you, my dear? Sol Souza. Hello. Daniela Wise. Hi, Daniela. Welcome, welcome. This is really good. So let's continue, my friends. So he explains here about this situation. So he explains the society had no reserves, no funds. So the society's influence is completely moral, and that is the characteristic of its meetings. It's grave and serious gathering. So before, you have to understand, in that time, in the middle of the 1800s, the table turning movement was a way of people getting together to have fun. This was their video game of the time. for them was funny, was cool to have a table moving, going up and down, sometimes answering questions. I'm gonna get married, I'm gonna have kids, blah blah blah, this type of things. And Kardec wanted to explain that the meetings in this spiritist society, they were different. They were not funny. Nobody is going there to have fun with table turnings. No, there the things were very serious. They studied. So they asked very strong and important questions to the spirits. So that's what he's trying to explain to the people in this sense, that it was grave and serious. Like Kardec himself. Kardec himself, the people who mentioned that they knew him privately, he was a very friendly person, but the characteristic of his personality was to be a serious man. So he was not the joking around, ha ha ha, like Angy. He was more serious. He probably would be reprimanding my personality. I would have to be like, the boss is around. So he continues. The expenses for this trip, so he's talking about this last trip that he just did. They were taken from our personal resources and savings, supplemented by the profit from our books. If you were here with us before, you understand that Kardec was a professor and he had developed a very new methodology of teaching kids. So he was following his master, Pestalozzi, who was the first one to implement a methodology that the kids had to learn with fun. Let me put the camera on myself again. So in that time, if you go to any museum around the world, you will see that the first schools, they were very small. It was like a small room with all chairs, one next to the other. One teacher to teach students from all different ages. And there was always a method of punishment. So the method of punishment was always present. Yes, of course, you can imagine a teacher with 30 kids. If you are not strict, the kids are going to start throwing things, screaming, running around. But Pestalozzi understood that when the kids are having fun, they learn faster. So besides being strict in order that you have to pay attention to what I'm teaching, he created a method that the tables, for example, they were like in a circle and the teacher was in the middle. So the teacher could see everybody, not the teacher is he seeing everybody there and the students all the way in the back, he can't really pay attention to them. Another thing Pestalozzi understood is like, for example, he's going to teach biology. Would it be great to take kids out to see plants, to see flowers, to touch the things, to understand how animals live. So this was something that didn't exist before. Everything was in the paper, in the book. They had to memorize the names, the dates, like pretty much like nowadays in most of the schools. But this method from that time was really something, whoa! Kardec was one of his best students. So when he graduates, he created this type of school, type of teaching in Paris, where he lived. He studied with Pestalozzi in Switzerland, but when he returned to his home in France, that's where he implemented. So he wrote many books about this type of study, and he got very famous. His books were selling a lot. If you saw the movie Kardec, you can see that he struggled to be a teacher because he was much more open, and the schools he was teaching, they were very strict, so they did not accept his methods, and he always had the trouble and he had to leave. So at a certain point of his life, he struggled to be able to provide to his family, for him and for his wife. So the selling of his books were a good source of income. So it helped him a lot, and that's how he was able to pay for these spiritist trips. And then he continues here explaining that they let me just go back here. So the expenses for this trip were taken from our personal resources and savings, supplemented with the profit from our books, without which it would be impossible for us to meet the expenses that are a consequence of the work we have undertaken. So any trip you will do, you will have expenses. You have to pay for the bus, the flight, the car, and then wherever you're going to stay. If you cannot stay in the house of someone, you have to have expenses to eat, for everything. So Kardec was able to pay for himself. In that time, the spiritist centers, they were not able to pay for him, but he paid for himself because he wanted to bring the good news everywhere. So now we have like a little idea of the books that he continued publishing. So in the 1862, he published this book called The Refutation of the Criticisms Against the Spiritism. So this book will be amended into this book that we are actually studying. This book will be here because in this book later on, he will start discussing with people that are against the spiritism, and he will start answering all their accusations and explaining that what they are accusing spiritism is not correct. So this is one of interesting things. In 1864, he published The Imitation of the Gospel According to Spiritism. So the imitation of the gospel. Yes, this is this book, The Gospel According to Spiritism. So the first time he published, the name was The Imitation of the Gospel According to Spiritism. So obviously the church, the Catholic Church, was against it because it was like an imitation. And even his own publisher told him, I don't think it's a good idea for us to publish with this name. So later on, they published again the second edition, and then they removed the imitation of the gospel, and it was just Gospel According to Spiritism. So the gospel is where we have explained the moral maxims of Christ. So the teachings of our Master Jesus. That's the book we are studying in the second part of this study here. So in 64, he does another trip. Now he goes to Antwerp and Brussels. And the Belgian Spiritist centers, they get like super excited with his presence. But then he mentions again, he explains to the Belgians the same thing he explained in Paris. It is better to have 100 groups to 10 to 20 people in the city, so very small groups, and where no groups assume supremacy over the others, than to have one single society where everyone meets. So in the idea of Kardec, would be much better to have 10, 20 small little groups in many different areas of a city, of a country, than to have one gigantic group where everybody had to go there. And this is happening nowadays. Yes, in Brazil, for example, there are gigantic groups. But also Kardec explains here a little bit below that the big groups also have a purpose. It's really like advertising. You know, when you have a group of 2,000 people, people notice. It's like, oh, you are from this group? Oh, I see a lot of people there. So it's like, oh, what is this? So it's also positive, but the fundamental principle of Kardec is really the study to create this strong bond like a family. This only can be done in a small group. When you are a member of a 2,000 people society, it's very hard because nobody knows you and then you don't know everybody. But if you are a member of a group of 20 people, That's your family. You know all of them because you are constantly together. Constantly together. So the bonds will be stronger. I feel it like in our group here because we are basically a virtual group because I live in Miami. We have friends here that live everywhere. We have friends from Texas, friends from New York, Pennsylvania, Connecticut, everywhere. But we are a very small group. So when I see your names, I personally know most of you, especially the ones that are members of my private WhatsApp group. These ones I really know. And this is what Kardec was saying. This is good because it brings you like a family. You can discuss things in a personal level. When you are in a gigantic group, the things are very different, and make you a little bit away from others. So, my friends, let's stop right here. So, I will go back next week. Let me see where I stopped. I stopped in the middle of 40. So, let's stop right here so we can actually start our next study. That's the Gospel according to Spiritism. And we have our dear guests. Today, we have Daniela Stefanelli with us, and we also have Claudia Nunes here. Hello, hello, girls. How are you?
Hello, good evening.
Very good to have you here with us. This is awesome. So I don't wanna waste much time. Let me just see if there is any other messages here. No. Everybody connected. Yes. So if you are new here, that's when we are gonna study the gospel according to Spiritism. And I didn't even introduce the girls because the girls have been here before, you know. I just mentioned we are a very small family, so everybody knows Daniela, everybody knows Claudia.
Hello,
We
everyone.
are family. Pum. Very good. So our subject of today is a tough one. You know, we are going to be talking about vengeance, hatred, and duelings. And I'm sure people are going to say duelings. Why? Well, you know, it's important for us to talk about the historical aspect because I sincerely hope it does not exist anymore, but it was something that was very common in the past. So, very good, girls. I talk a lot. What do you have to tell us about vengeance, especially? Just to let you all know, if you have the book, we are in chapter 12, and we will be studying today 9, 10, 11, and 12 items, okay? So at this moment, vengeance. What can we start talking about vengeance?
Vengeance is a dish you eat cold. Isn't that what they say?
Gosh.
And that's such a funny thing, right? Because that means you have to suffer whatever it is that made you get that angry. You have to wait and watch that plate so the food from the heat of the emotion gets cold. So you relive that situation a few times over. And then eventually you're going to eat it, which means you're going to act on it and be vengeful. And
Yes,
imagine that you are spending all this energy on somebody that made you angry.
exactly. Exactly. And I'm
That's
glad I
funny.
don't like cold food. So, no.
Oh,
Better to eat it warm, right? But it's funny that you're saying that, Claudia, because that's actually a saying, at least in
yes.
Portuguese. I don't know if here too,
In
but
English too.
in English too, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And I thought exactly about that, like how much time and effort like one
Energy.
has to put in that, and that uh, with all that time and dedication, like imagine how, how much good he or she could be doing, like for himself or herself, right? Or for his own betterment. So how much like time and effort is wasted in that, and then that bad feeling is actually that in that person only, not on the other. Very likely the person that caused harm or pain initially, it might be that this person doesn't even know what what was caused. So like you really need to have that bad feeling within yourself to want it vengeance.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And
it's
nurture it,
yeah.
right? And vengeance is just like a child. You got to nurture it, make it grow, keep it alive, keep feeding it. Because if you don't do none of those things, what do? You forget about it.
Yeah.
So it takes a lot of work to be vengeful, a lot of energy.
Yeah, the problem is that people watch so many soap operas, so many
Oh, yeah.
movies that
No, and in general, there's so
people who
many
are
people that are
vengeful are
vengeful.
the strong ones. They're the and they connect with it, and of course, when you are angry with something, you are capable
Mhm.
of doing things you never imagined. That's why Chico Xavier and the enlightened spirits, we also saw in the movie Nosso Lar, Astral City, that we have to calm down, drink some water, put in the water in the mouth, and keep the mouth shut. So we calm down and we use our brain, not just our emotions, because this is one of the big dangers.
Yeah. And like I was thinking also like about the fact that it really doesn't matter what it is that it happens to you. It's just like the way you see like that as an offense, and then and then you can create that feeling of, oh, I want to that person to pay me back in a way, um, like to suffer like I did. But it doesn't matter what happened. I was thinking about this the other day because. So when I was studying, and then like 2 days ago, I bumped into one of our neighbors here. Last year, he suffered from a hit and run accident. So somebody hit him like while he was jogging in the early morning. Such a young guy, like with a young kid, a toddler, and his wife. But he was jogging by himself, and then this person hit him on the road and left him there. He had very bad injuries. He had to go through a brain surgery. He stayed in the hospital for many weeks. He had broken bones. All of that, like he had to pay for his hospital bills for himself. He couldn't go to work. His wife had to stay with him and with his daughter. So it was very bad for them, for the family. So when we met him like 2 days ago, and we were asking like, how are you doing? And he was like, I'm so happy to be alive. I am very grateful that I'm here and that I'm healthy, that it was over. Like I'm back to myself and like my health. I'm not in the hospital anymore. I'm grateful for my daughter. And so he was really like in a different level. He didn't even mention about this person that, caused him that suffering, that pain. And so it's just like the way you see it. Like he could be, fomenting that, like, I want to know this person. I want to, make him pay, and of course, like that's the right thing to do. Like, it's not to say that, it's correct to let go of that, but
It's the
in his
politically correct thing to do. It's not the right thing to do.
exactly, yes, yeah.
Acceptable malice of society.
Yeah, like for him, like what was the benefit for him to just look for vengeance or to feel bad about that person? Like he actually focused on himself. So it was really like beautiful to see. Like it doesn't matter if it is a little offense, if it is small or big, is the way you perceive that and the way you choose to focus your energy on.
Yes.
Moreover,
Yes.
sometimes we feel the pain, and the person that inflicted the pain has no conscience that
Yeah.
they inflicted you pain. So you're
Yeah.
there nurturing all this hatred, all this
On
anger
yourself.
that goes in your own bloodstream, because while you're just nurturing, the person that caused you that don't have a clue. So they're
Yeah.
Yeah.
fine. You're
Hmm.
just infesting your own blood cells in your own
Yeah.
body system with all this anger and hatred. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That's
And
why
to
when you read the chapter on the last paragraph of this part, he says, "Be gone with such primitive customs." Because, a primate, when he was in the caves and he got, let's say there was a rabbit and a tiger, and the caveman wanted the rabbit, and the tiger was faster, and he snuck up the rabbit, right? The caveman had a reason to be angry at the tiger, because he had the same primal instinct to feed him and his family, and the tiger took away his food in his mind, right? But it was the time where we had basic instincts too. So it's okay to have those feelings when you're just living on basic instincts. 2021, we have computers, we have science, we have all these beautiful things. We understand that love is a superior power, more powerful than anything else. How come we're still nurturing primal feelings?
Yeah, this is the point. We have also to understand that whenever something like this happens to us, this will be our natural feeling immediately. Immediately, we can't say, "Oh, I will be forgiving immediately," because this is not the
Mhm.
normal. Certain percentage of the population are able to do it, but not 100%. I know if
No,
this happened to me, I wouldn't. I would be, how come this person did this to me and abandoned me here to die? But the key point of a spiritist person is to understand the understanding that nurturing this hatred, this desire for
anger.
revenge, and the spiritists are dangerous, because the spiritists like, ha ha, the karma law will take him. So we have to be careful too, because we accept we are not going to do anything, but the karma will take them, and we wish it to happen as quick as possible. So this is the thing, we have to be careful. We have to understand, like, okay, this happened to me, unfortunately. Now I have to move on, because if I get stuck in this feeling, this will make me sick. And we
Yeah.
know that the science already proves that the people that cultivates hatred, anger, all kinds of negative feelings, they get their physical bodies more sick than the others that are more easygoing, more peaceful. So this is really like a wake up call for all of us when we
And
get
what? How
ourselves
can
like
you
this.
call
Like,
yourself a Christian, somebody that follows the love of Christ around, and at the same time, no matter how big or small the issue is, you take the energy and the time to nurture anger, hate, and plan vengeance? Because
yeah,
planning vengeance is that, right? Nurturing all these feelings inside of you. So you
yeah.
can call yourself a Christian because the Christians are the followers of Christ.
Yeah, and the Christ came here to teach us to give the other side of the cheek, to
And to
learn
love,
to be
the exact
forgiven.
opposite of,
So we have to apply it, even if at the
yeah,
first moment we can't do it automatically, but then we have to wake up and be like your neighbor, Daniela.
Yeah.
Imagine if he said, I'm good now, but that man who did that,
oh, I gotta get him. I'm gonna get a lawyer and whatever.
yeah, exactly. So,
I'm
it's
sure.
important to, whew, okay,
Yeah. I'm
give it,
sure they.
let it go to the universe.
Now, please
Yeah.
be aware there's nothing wrong with getting a lawyer. There
Yeah.
are fair
Yeah.
things. The
Yeah.
feeling involved what is wrong.
Yeah.
Yet if you
No,
try to will
exactly.
as a consequence, yes, you should get a lawyer, but not because you hate the guts of the person that has hurt you, right?
Yeah. No, I think there is a difference between you want to like someone to pay for those consequences, but in a way that's not like I don't want that the person to suffer the same or worse. Like it's the different thing, and I'm sure like my neighbor and his wife are taking measures like with they send videos to the police like from other neighbors, etc., like recordings to see if they could
Yeah.
find, because it's just right for this person to pay for his medical bills, and and it's a crime. A hit and run is a crime.
Yeah.
But what I mean is that it's just that he took things in a different perspective
Absolutely.
after months after that, like he was just happy that it wasn't worse than what it was, and he didn't show any like feelings, bad feelings towards that person. He was just like grateful.
He didn't nurture them.
Exactly, and I thought that was like really elevated. Yeah.
He utilized it for betterment. Yes.
We have a message here. So Claudia Garcia said we have to be careful because we also attract many spirits in need that have a lot of negative vibration, and this is true.
While you're nurturing the anger, you vibrating anger and hate and animosity.
Exactly. You vibrate negative, you attract negative. And then we have Sol Souza. So she said the sentiment vengeance must never live within the heart of anyone who claims to be a spiritist. As you all well know, vengeance is so contrary to Christ's prescription: forgive your enemies. That's to forgive. Only are not Spiritism, they are not even Christians. Yes, exactly. It's written actually in the chapter. So we, as Spiritists, we have double, how can I say, obligation to forgive, because we
have the knowledge
and Spiritism. Exactly. Yeah. Responsibility. Exactly. So this is true. This is true. Our time goes so fast. Right? We need to move on to hatred. Hatred is very connected
right into hatred.
To vengeance. Vengeance and hatred are like, woo, right there. Really, really close. So the first sentence on number 10 is, love one another and you will be happy above all. Assume the duty of loving those who inspire you with indifference, hatred, or scorn. So this is the difficult love, to love your friends and family. This is a piece of cake, like but to love the ones who are indifferent or the ones who hate you and scorn you, this is the tough one. This is the tough part. So how can we understand the hatred, and how can we stop hating?
Well, vengeance is more like an activity, right? You don't nurture vengeance, you practice it.
Yeah.
It's what you nurture, right? You nurture those feelings of anguish, of discord, of, hatred, and those are more the feeling side. Vengeance is more the actual side.
Exactly. Because when you hate so much, you want to take action. You want to do something. And that's the bad part. That's the danger thing. Yeah. Daniela, you were saying something. I cut you.
No, it's just that the last time that I joined, I remember like the team, like the chapter, it was like love your neighbors, but the specific section was the rule of love, like the law of love. And then coming out for this hatred like section in the office. But then it says like love, it is about love again. It's just that how can you overcome exactly? How can you overcome hatred if not with love, right? And then I think that that's the hardest part, like how can you, because this involves a little pain. It's different than the law of love that is like love your neighbor different people, etc. This is like with someone that might cause you pain and suffering. How can you
Yes.
you overcome hatred?
It's
Yeah.
more like love your enemies part of it, right?
Yeah, but like in a way that it doesn't, even with your loving that enemy, it doesn't protect you from that pain. The
Yes.
pain is gonna still be there.
How do
It's just
you
like the way
fix
you
it?
see. It's very hard.
I just think that it takes the same amount of energy to nurture it that it takes to fix it. You choose how you want to use it, right?
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
then he
absolutely.
ends up saying, my dear children, do not forget that love brings us close to God, whereas hate keeps us from Him. Just like Claudia was saying, if we are closer to God, we are vibrating more love, more charity, more, caring. And when we are away from God, we are vibrating more negative things, which makes us an antenna to attract all those great friends that we have on the spiritual world. And we got to remember the good friends are ethereal and further away because they're more evolved. They can't be so close to the earth.
Exactly.
Well, the bad ones are right around here, you know, right here, just waiting for a little
Yeah.
opportunity to jump in.
Exactly, because we are not evolved yet. So we vibrate very, very close. There is a subtle line that separates us. And whenever we are vibrating like this type of things, we boom, we connect.
We
And
connect.
that's
We
the
open the vortex
problem.
and we come right in.
That's the problem. So Saul Souza said, love brings us close to God, whereas hate keeps us from it. This is true. This is totally true. And hatred is like the feeling of really hating someone or something, and vengeance is the action. And the spirit that here number 9, Jules Olivier, he explains the different types of vengeance. There is that vengeance that's declared. The person comes and tell you this, and I will do this, and this. But there is also that subtle vengeance that he actually mentions. That's the worst of all, because there's the vengeance of the cowards. That vengeance that a person comes and said, Daniela,
Yeah.
let me tell you. And it starts creating this insanity that maybe there is a little bit of truth, but creates like a wild, crazy story that's not true. And we have to bring nowadays to the fake news. Fake news are super easy to spread because of the internet. That's why we have to be so careful when we share something. We have to be really careful that whatever we are sharing is true. We have to check sources. So we are not helping to spread the bad news, something that is a lie. So the spirit says, are cowards who avenge themselves like this, these are 100 times guiltier than those who go straight to their enemies and insult them in their face. So this is really powerful, because we know this happens everywhere. It starts with the little gossip, and then it can evolve to things much, much worse. That's why in Spiritism, whenever something is negative, most of the time it's better we remove ourselves from that type of conversation. We say, yeah, let me go to the restroom one moment. Or you just go straight, I don't want to talk about it. I don't think it's good. Maybe we should talk about something different. This is it's very important. So we cut this type of negative feeling and feeding. That's the big point. And we have just 5 minutes. We need to go to dueling. Before we go into dueling, I'm gonna tell you a real story, a true story. I am absolutely in love with Abraham Lincoln. I bought so many books. I have everything you think about of Abe, and so I'm always researching about his life. And in one time of his life, he was already a politician, and another political person, very famous in that time, invited him. It's not invited, commanded him for dueling, and you had to accept, although you would be a coward. And then he went to the dueling knowing like what I'm gonna do. I'm not a good shooter. And that person was an expert. So he went there and he went thinking, how can I do to avoid this? So he used his brain because he was the one who was commanded. He could choose which arms they were going to use. So he chose the longest sword ever. And as you all know, he was 6'5" or 6'6", I don't remember. He was a super tall guy. And he was practicing with the sword and showing. And then the person who had to duel with him only could have the same type of sword. And he was a small guy. And the book says that immediately the guy was like, oh, I have no chance against this gigantic man with a gigantic sword. And then the guy said, let's call it out. So this is just a dueling story of Abe, just for you to know.
Yeah. But everybody laughs whenever they read dueling because they only think about the thing that will kill somebody else. But we still do it today. You're at work, your boss says something that did not go well with you, and you just start a fight. And guess what? Fighting is today's dueling, right? Because somebody got to win and somebody got to get their little tail and put it between their legs and just go to the corner.
You might pick your weapon, Twitter, Facebook, email.
Go that route, or you can just, be the boss and say, you know what, I'm the one that's telling you, and that's how it is. And no matter if I'm right or wrong, I'm the boss, and you gotta put your little tail between your little legs and go to your corner because otherwise you're gonna lose your job. Isn't that a form of dueling and winning?
Yeah.
And the other one has lost, didn't lose his life, but still lost the battle.
Yeah, we evolved
all the time.
As we can see, we evolved a little bit back because nowadays dueling of taking the life of someone is not allowed by the laws of our society anymore. But yes, these other types of dueling, yes, they continue happening everywhere. You have duelings with your neighbors. I am so grateful that I love all my neighbors, but I hear stories that are really like a nightmare. And there is a funny story here in my neighborhood. We live in houses, and there is a neighbor who loves roosters. And there is a rooster that 2:00 in the morning, he wakes up.
His internal clock is a little bit off.
Yes,
summer
the rooster is a little off of
changing his clock, and he doesn't change it, so.
And it's a huge problem because of the rooster. So they want to duel with the rooster. So, yeah, it's difficult.
So to wrap up the chapter on dueling, he wraps up saying, that kingdom of peace and love, which must banish animosity, discord, and war from your globe forever. So who is he talking to? You. He's not talking about the world. He's not talking about your neighbor. He's not talking about anybody else, but each one of us trying to figure it out. How are we going to take all these duelings that may bring us into anger, that may then bring us an action of vengeance?
Exactly. Exactly. That's true.
The words are so powerful in this for me.
That's true. That's true. I believe the study of tonight it's very good for all of us to reflect on it, to reflect on everything we said, everything we do in our lives, and really think, and I'm better. And as I mentioned in the beginning of the study, in the prayer, 2021 will be better, but we have to improve. So even if we improve a little bit, that's already better me, and then will be a better year because I will be more positive. So this is important for us. So Claudia Garces is saying here, oh yes, we are constantly dueling, but in a different way. Our thoughts are cruel sometimes. We send bad energy, bad wishes to people that disagree with us. We are not perfect. Yeah, Claudia, we are not perfect. But as a spiritist, as we all said, we already understand that we have to move on from this negative feeling. So we have our bad moments that someone hurts us deeply and we feel betrayed, and this betrayal can bring like to the hatred feeling, but we cannot be stationary there. We have to understand, no, this is not me. This was me 200 years ago. I'm better. So I will pray for this person who did this to me, and I will pray for myself too, because I have to let it go, let it go, let it go.
200 veils for each one of our flaws.
Yeah.
As each veil comes off, we see a little bit deeper and a little bit faster. And our job is to open our eyes a little bit more every day so we can catch ourselves on those
Exactly.
things. None of us is perfect, but the conscience that you create when you realize you could be caught on this and that you do your review at night, that the person is no longer in front of you, and say, man, I think I've overstepped my anger. That is when you are a spiritist. The emotion
Yes.
will blind us, but reasoning will bring us to light.
Exactly. Very good. Guys, 10:02. Daniela, would you like to do our final prayer?
Sure.
So please just involve all our friends who are momentarily sick, the ones that we know, from the chat on WhatsApp. So involve them and send these positive vibrations. So if you guys have your water, this moment is the water to connect and focus that your medication will be put there, and use it wisely, please.
Let's close our eyes. Elevate our thoughts. Dear God, dear Master Jesus, dear spiritual guides, thank you for this opportunity to get together again, to learn Jesus' teachings, to talk about how his teachings can help us for our spiritual growth and our betterment. Please, God, allow us to, even though we understand it's not always easy, but to help us little by little to elevate ourselves and have the courage to let go of offenses, be more forgiving, to try and love even our enemies or people that don't agree with us. At the same time, Lord, I ask you to comfort all the families that might have suffered or have a relative or loved one that were lost to COVID-19 or that might have been affected by this pandemic in any way. Please, Lord, also give hope to the ones that are sick in the hospitals or at home, the ones that are isolated from their families at this moment. Give them the comfort, Lord, to overcome all difficulties in these hard times. Please, God, help us to take care of our health. Help us, help the society to understand that the science is with us, is trying to help us to overcome all those challenges. Thank you for another chance to start a new year. And although in only a few days we have seen so much violence, so much hatred, please God help us that this may not be the direction that 2021 is taking. It's with us all the free will to make the right choices for this year. Help us to overcome all these challenges. Thank you so much. So be it.
So be it. So, my friends, just before we go, I wanted to let you all know we have lots of good news in 2021. And as I mentioned in the beginning, we are going to have soon the irradiation that will be happening also on Thursdays. So, right after this study, we are going to have a group doing a very small gospel at home and then the irradiation. That will be like this intensive prayers for the people that we love and we want to send these good vibrations, or for ourselves. So this will be very helpful to all of us. So thank you so much for being here with us. Thank you so much, Daniela, Claudia. It's always a pleasure to have you guys as our guests. And thank you to all of you that are seeing us and are hearing us through Kardec Radio. Mwah! We see you soon. Next week.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great night, everybody.